everyone, happy Thursday out here. This is Dominique Higgins, the broker for developers here in Southern California, helping builders and GCs buy and build their own dream projects. In today's episode, I did want to touch on something that I brought up in the last live, which was all about carry and what that means, what it potentially looks like, and how you can potentially use it to get your hands on some property, even if you are not able to buy them all cash. So in the last live, I was talking how my first development project, I sold it, and I actually carried the paper and made interest payments for about 2 years or so. And I kind of wanted to revisit that. I didn't want to skip over it because it was a very a great tactic, and it was a good way for the buyer at that time to actually get his hands on the property. He was a general contractor, and he didn't have all the cash that he needed to purchase that property outright. It was a type of investment property that would have been otherwise very difficult to get financing, even hard money financing, because essentially on paper it was just land, even though it had a mobile home on it and even though it had utilities on it. And so I kind of did some research and some digging, and I kind of came across this concept where the seller can actually carry the paper. So that's a term that is used when it's referring to the seller offering a financing option. And as I do this video too, please note that none of this is to be construed as legal or financial advice, and you are to consult your own professionals within those fields before acting on any information. I'm just sharing my own personal experience with it, as well as my own personal kind of research as well. That is the only purpose of this video, because I'm all about sharing information that could potentially help any GCs out there trying to get into development, as well as any developers that are trying to get their hands on bigger and better projects. Yes, so he didn't necessarily have the cash, but he was very definitely interested, and he could do the physical work. And we kind of came up to this agreement where he put in only 50%. He paid 50% of the purchase price in cash, and then we basically just did an IOU that was literally like scribbled on a piece of paper, kind of like a loan document, and I held on to that for about 2 years, and he would then mail me different like interest payments each month, and he paid them all on time, which was really, really cool. And yeah, he owned the property, but I held kind of the loan that was underlying that property. So if he had failed to pay the notes or pay the payments on this note that I was holding, I would have been able to actually take the property back, which kind of worked in my favor because whatever was on the property at that point, I could then kind of resell it. And kind of moving forward, it really opened my eyes into how it can potentially be a good option for investors, as well as developers to get their hands on different properties. It works especially well. I've seen, again, in my personal experience, it works very well with properties that are owned free and clear, so where there is no existing loan on the property, and it also works well on properties that are a little bit difficult to get what a quote-unquote traditional financing. Properties that are above 4 units, commercial spaces, industrial spaces, land that you're looking to develop, so on and so forth. And actually what's really interesting is too, over time since then, in working with my clients who are kind of developers and real estate investors, they too, because a lot of the different properties that they've owned, they own free and clear, as they've sold them off over time, we've always listed that as a potential option as well, because we're aware of it and we know how good it can be for attracting potential buyers out there. And it's funny too, because it's just not a lot of people know about it, and it's really a matter of trying to get the word out, especially to sellers. I think that I've seen is the highest obstacle there is, because obviously you're not talking to the seller directly. You're talking to, in most cases, usually, you're not talking to the seller directly, you're talking to their agent, and a lot of agents don't know kind of what it's called seller financing is, or carrying paper. They don't know how that works, and therefore it's this hesitance within that group to then try to convey that to the seller, who can then say, oh yeah, that's a good idea, and agree to it. Definitely helpful to learn about it yourself, learn about how it can potentially work towards your advantage if you're trying to get your hands on property over longer courses of time, for example, properties that may take more time to develop, or properties that eventually you would like to refinance in some way to actually keep for a long period of time, and you're really just looking to get your hands on them. One of the key things that I have seen, I have run into a couple people who have said, oh yeah, I've heard of that. It's where you can offer the seller like 1% interest and they'll definitely take it. And it's a really good deal for them and it works out for me. And one of my biggest kind of comments to that person who told me that was, sellers aren't not going to do that. Like when you're approaching sellers with this potential option, because it is so new, because it is so new to them, because it's the idea of seller financing is not something that is talked about a lot. You really do want to make the effort to make it still attractive and even more attractive than anything else. I've seen people offer competitive interest rates and say, hey, I'll pay X amount of interest rate, which is more than you would get renting the property or more than what you're getting right now, and kind of set up those different like comparison scenarios so that to really help illustrate the benefit of that. So yeah, I just wanted to hop on this really quick live and follow up that which I mentioned in the last video. And yeah, if you are a real estate developer, investor, or even a GC who's looking to do your own projects, definitely check out the post that is pinned in my timeline and book a free strategy call with me. Let's talk about how we can get you into the business, what you need to watch out for, and really help put together a plan for you to have a long-term real estate business. Until the next live, thank you guys so much and can't wait to see you then.